robo-taxis, and they are on their way to producing billions of humanoid robots. Some see a lack of focus, but the opposite is true. Cars, energy, robo-taxis, and humanoids are mere milestones on the path to a grander vision. In this video, we'll explore Elon's companies through the lens of the infinite game, a concept that's reshaping how we think about long-term success and impact. Guided by extraordinary achievers, we will unpack Elon's 1,000-year vision, gaining deep insights into Tesla, SpaceX, and all his other companies. Doing so, we will peek into the mind of a visionary willing to chew glass and stare into the abyss. Chapter 1, Infinite Companies. Simon Sinek's book, The Infinite Game, link in description, sheds new light on Tesla and Elon Musk's other companies. Sinek describes businesses that aren't just chasing quick profits, but are committed to changing the world forever. Let's hear Simon explain this concept in his own words.
We all think about winning and being the best and being number one, but if you think about it, only in a finite game can that exist, a game that has fixed rules, agreed upon objectives, and known players, like football or baseball. There's always a beginning, middle, and end, and if there's a winner, there has to be a loser. Infinite games have known and unknown players, which means anyone can join. It has changeable rules, which means you can play however you want. And the objective is to perpetuate the game, to stay in the game as long as possible. In other words, there's no such thing as being number one or winning in a game that has no finish line. And what I learned is that when we try to win in a game that has no finish line, we try and be the best in a game that has no agreed upon objectives or agreed upon metrics or timeframes. There's a few consistent and predictable outcomes: the decline of trust, the decline of cooperation, the decline of innovation. And I find this fascinating because so many of the ways that we run most organizations is with a finite mindset.
Finite games, as Sinek explains, have clear rules, known players, and a definite end. Think football matches or chess games. There's a winner, a loser, and it's over when it's over. Infinite games are different beasts altogether. The rules can change, players come and go, and there's no defined endpoint. The goal isn't to win, but to keep the game going. In truth, there's no such thing as winning in business. Whether you hit your targets today or are outperformed by a competitor, tomorrow's a new day and the game continues. So the most important metrics are to keep afloat, to grow and evolve. Most businesses, however, operate as if they're playing a finite game. They fixate on short-term metrics, such as beating the competition and winning market share. But truly transformative companies, what I'll call infinite companies, have completely different goals. These infinite companies understand that business is an ongoing journey. Take Tesla. They're not obsessed with beating competitors, just laser-focused on advancing their cause. And they don't just want to dominate the market, they want to change it altogether. But if you're not trying to beat your competitors, how do you treat them?
Because I talked about decline of innovation. And the problem with a finite mindset is you're always competing against someone. But as we've already established in an infinite game, there's no one to beat. The only one to outdo is yourself, right? You should be competing against yourself. That's truly the only competition. Now, there are other players in the game. You have to be aware of them. You have to know what they're doing. You can learn from them. Their strengths will reveal to you your weaknesses so that you can improve. But there's no such thing as beating them. And when companies do come up to me and say, well, we are number one, I'm like, based on which metrics that you chose,
Right.
based on which timeframes that you chose. And if somebody really does, like, no, Simon, we are number one, my answer is always the same. I always go, for now. Like, that's the whole infinite game. Like, nobody stays in any position. It's always for now.
Commenting on the Starliner fiasco, a Boeing employee was quoted saying, "We hate SpaceX. We talk shit about them all the time. And now they are bailing us out. I'm horrified." Let's contrast this with how Tesla treats its rivals.
Alaska writes, honestly, we don't think of the competition much here at SpaceX. It's more about the impossible goal of Mars that drives us. And that really resonates with my experience in Tesla. KPIs towards the 1,000-year goal are made visible to everyone in real time. When I was working in Tesla in 2020, we had monitors just above head height about every 3 meters in every Tesla building. And those monitors showed, out of all cars and trucks built in the world, it was around 80 million cars and trucks built in a year all around the world, what percentage of them was electric? And it was a really small percent. And we would cheer anytime that number went up. I remember cheering when another company, a German company, started selling more electric cars. I've never been in a company before where we cheered for a competitor. But it really looks to me like Elon manages the companies towards a 1,000-year goal and not a profit motive. Because we all cheered when the percent of electric vehicles crept up slightly, even though those cars at that time were not Teslas.
Tesla doesn't aim to crush BYD. They recognize the market is big enough for both. Instead, Tesla studies its rival to understand its own strengths and weaknesses. They even collaborate with BYD, creating a win-win scenario. Tesla doesn't divide companies into competitors and suppliers. They see all companies as potential partners. I want to share something that's become crucial in my